This is Mary. Welcome to the IHC Craft Room. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this big, beautiful, and amazing smelling candle in a 15-ounce vessel, no less. But I'm pretty sure I made it wrong. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Go ahead and grab all your stuff, and let's get crafty. We're going to start with Midwest Container Soy Wax and Raven Black Single Ply Medium Wood Wicks, some Wick Stickums, you know I'm a big fan of those, and a 15-ounce Luxe jar in matte black. I just love these jars. I just think they're so elegant. And last, we're going to be using Muskoka Lodge fragrance oil. I'm a big fan of this fragrance oil. It's just so fruity and fresh, and I can't wait to burn this candle. For tools, we're going to begin with parchment paper, some paper towels, a small saucepan as a double boiler, pot holder, a small pour pot, a 5-ounce glass measuring cup, a temperature gun, a kitchen scale, some rubber gloves, and a stir stick. Let's kick off the candle making process by getting some water boiling gently. While that's underway, grab your kitchen scale and make sure to zero out the weight of the pour pot before we start pouring in the wax. This way, you're only measuring the weight of the wax itself. I've checked the Village Crafting Candle website and they suggest a wax fill of about 13 ounces for this container. I'm opting for 360 grams of wax, which is just a smidge under 13 ounces. But once we factor in the fragrance oil, we'll hit that sweet spot for the recommended wax fill. I'd like to make these candles with 10% fragrance load. So since we have 360 grams of wax, 10% of that is 36 grams of fragrance oil. Or rather, 36 mils of fragrance oil, but I'm too lazy to shift between those two options on my scale, so 36 grams will do. I've prepped my scale by laying down parchment paper and some paper towel before I start pouring the fragrance oil. If you're wondering why, it's all about precision, and let's just say that I get a little bit clumsy under pressure. And because fragrance oil may smell amazing in a candle, but not so much on my table, I'm just taking some precautions and they have proved useful in the past. Now, about the gloves, totally not mandatory. I just don't want my hands to smell like this oil for the next few days. But if that doesn't bother you or you're not as clumsy as I am, then you can totally skip the gloves. This is just my way of making sure I don't want to punch myself in the face for the next few days. While the wax continues to melt, let's get our wicks ready. I'm trying something new today. I'm kind of eyeballing where the wick should be, and I'm going to cut it before I even set it in the candle because I kind of struggle cutting wood wicks. Once the candles are all set up and stuff, I end up cutting them funky, and I just wanted to try something, so we'll see how this works out. I'll insert the wick into the wick clip and then use a wick stickum to secure the wick to the inside of the vessel. Make sure to really secure that wick down snugly. I truly live in fear of floating wicks, for real. Okay, so here's where I may have messed up. You see, I didn't plan ahead. I just thought to myself that since this wick is supposed to have like a 2-inch to 2.5-inch burn pool, and I'm going to be using 2 of them, between the 2 of them, they should be able to cover the full diameter of this vessel, which is I think about 4 inches or so. That was a guess though. I didn't actually really plan ahead. So let's do some of the research now that we should have done before. We're going to start on the Village Craft and Candle website. I'm just going to have a quick look at the vessel page itself to have a sense of all of the dimensions that are related to what I need. So specifically the diameters here, we're looking at between 3.9 and 4.3 in inches. So I'm going to, kind of split the difference and say about 4 inches, which is what I had guessed before. So I'm happy that I was pretty bang on with that. But what I wanted to focus on is down here on the bottom right corner where you see chat with us. This little bot is super helpful because there's this, how do I choose the right wick? And I think it's so useful. So the first thing it's going to do is ask me what vessel I'm using. I am using all Village Craft and Candle products. So for me, this will be easy, but in the event that you're not, there's also this not listed or choose your own that will let you pick a vessel based on the diameter of the vessel you have. So you can really use this even if you're not using a vessel from Village. But I am, so we're going to click on Luxe. And the next question is related to the size of the vessel, 9 ounce or 15. So we're doing a 15 ounce. It's the big guy today. And the next question is related to wax. So I'm using container soy wax. So soy or parasoy blends works for me. And the last question is traditional cotton wick or a wood wick. So we're definitely using a wood wick. So let's see. Now, the results here tell me what the proper scenario would be of how you should set up this vessel. Either you do the quadrant split or the peace sign split. And based on what this blurb says, this split here, this peace sign, would be using the large crackling booster wicks. And this would be using the medium. So I'm using the Raven Black medium. So comparably, this is the setup I should be using in order to ensure that my candle is going to get the proper burn and go all the way to the edge of my vessel. And as you know, that's not at all what I did. I actually put two wicks right here, right in the middle, in the exact wrong spot. So we'll see if I'm able to get a burn pool that will go all the way to the edge of my vessel. But I did want to bring this bot forward because this bit of research would have been super helpful to me before making my candle. But you know, hindsight's 20/20, and here we are. Let's get back to making our candle. Now that the wax has fully melted, I'm going to take it off the burner and measure the temperature. And we're at 187 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still a little too warm, but I decided to add the fragrance oil anyway. It would have been better if I'd waited for it to get under 180 degrees before adding the fragrance oil. Another area where I can improve is by being more patient to let the wax cool a little further before pouring it. I poured this wax pretty much immediately after adding the fragrance oil, when really I should have let it cool down to about 125 degrees Fahrenheit before pouring it. I'm not sure if you're keeping track, but so far I've put in the wrong amount of wicks in the wrong position. I've added the fragrance oil at the wrong temperature, and I've poured my wax at the wrong temperature. So things are going swimmingly well so far. At this point, it's been a few days since I poured this candle, so let's have a look at the finished product. Surprisingly, even though I poured the wax for this candle way too hot, I still got a fairly smooth top, which is really kind of unexpected. Since I didn't add any color to this container soy wax, I'm also not really seeing a lot of frosting or discoloration or anything like that. I can see a small bubble or like sinkhole right here by one of the wicks, but that's not really a big deal. I'm really pleasantly surprised by the end result. Now I'm going to let this cure for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to burn this candle and see if my incorrectly positioned wicks are going to be strong enough to give me a burn pool to the edge of my vessel. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens. I seem to have underestimated where I should cut my wicks, and they are still too long, so I'm going to give them a trim before I light them. With wood wicks, it's important that you light the wick at the bottom, right where it meets the wax, as opposed to lighting it from the top. Now, I'm going to let this candle burn for 3 hours before determining if my 2 medium Raven Black wood wicks were able to hold their own. Wow, my burn pool made it to the edge of the vessel by the 3-hour mark. I'm jazzed. And the hot throw on this candle is actually pretty fantastic. So yay me, all around this was a successful experiment. Thank you for joining me on this extra large candle making experiment. If you enjoyed this tutorial from a beginner, then subscribe to my channel so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!